Good afternoon to everybody, and I'd like to introduce today's presenters. We have Eric Best, Mercent's Chairman and CEO, and joining us from Google is John Venverloh, and he is Google's Head of Business Development for their Platforms Division. Eric?
Thanks, Christine, and welcome, John. Glad to have you back on another Mercent webinar. And
thanks, nice to be here, Eric.
Yeah, thanks. Lots of good content here. I'm going to try to make my introductory comments on Mercent brief, and we're going to move right into some good data about the holiday and channel-specific performance. So just as a quick reminder for everyone on the call, Mercent's in the business of ensuring that some of the world's largest retailers are visible with their product catalogs and merchandising offers across the web, that they are promoting competitive pricing and merchandising offers, and that their advertising campaigns are profitable. And our aim is to do this wherever consumers shop. We're starting with the largest, highest volume digital channels, which of course includes Google, but we're focused on mobile, social, transactional marketplaces, and many other categories online. We do serve a portfolio of more than 500 major retail brands, and again, on behalf of these customers, not only are we helping them manage their digital advertising campaigns, but of late, more and more we're getting involved in the optimization of their actual product pricing and merchandising offers. Some representative channels here. I mentioned a few categories earlier, but we do enable selling on Amazon, eBay, marketplaces like Buy.com and Sears, Google's shopping program, as well as Google AdWords as part of our paid search offering, the major comparison shopping engines, affiliate networks, retargeted display platforms, and many other flavors of online advertising. We believe that our platform is unique in the market in that we're bringing together four very large and disparate critical operational data sets that sit at the intersection of e-commerce, digital advertising, and business intelligence. And just quickly, these are, in order here, the operational data that we integrate with and exchange with our customers' warehouses and their e-commerce storefront, the output of our own proprietary web and retail analytics components, which are part of the Mercent Retail SaaS platform. We look at real-time channel signals and feedback, including actual ad spend and orders that come from those remote shopping carts and locations like Amazon and eBay. And most recently, and we think potentially most strategically, we're also collecting real-time competitive and market intelligence from across the web and incorporating that information into our platform in order to facilitate services like real-time product pricing for our customer base. The data that we're going to be sharing with you today comes directly from the aggregate information that we collect and store and analyze within our software platform, Mercent Retail. We call it the Mercent eCommerce Performance Index. We have a long history of publishing public e-commerce indicators, both at the aggregate level as well as on a channel-by-channel basis. And so just to give you a quick rundown on the data that we are presenting here, we're looking at quarterly and key shopping day growth. We're measuring on a same-seller basis, and we've taken a fairly conservative measure of same seller. We look only at those sellers that have been on our platform for at least 5 consecutive quarters and have been selling through the channels that we break out for the same 5-quarter tenure. We do have broad category representation within our portfolio. We tend to see higher growth and volatility numbers than you might see from other industry indices, including Comscore and Forrester, and that's because the transactions that we observe are almost 100% driven by paid advertising budget, which tends to be highly variable, and it tends to compound the ups and downs that we see in our results. Obviously, we are also a reflection of the largest channels that we manage, and those contributing to the majority of the $2 billion in retail sales that we'll source and process through our platform this year. Amazon and Google are by far the largest, and then you have categories like comparison shopping, which when combined with Amazon and Google make up a total of roughly 70 to 75% of that transaction value. So we'll get into the numbers here in a few minutes, but we've been reporting this data since the fourth quarter of 2008. Just to quickly talk about the importance and influence of some of the key channels that we support and that we're going to discuss today. I thought it was particularly interesting. I wanted to call out two data points that we've really taken to heart that are informing our technology investments and our corporate strategy here at Mercent. And those channels are, of course, Amazon and Google. And rather than focus on the percentage of the total e-commerce market that flows transactionally through those channels or from those channels, I wanted to just call out the aggregate influence that Amazon and Google combined are having on the overall e-commerce industry and, more broadly speaking, on the offline retail industry. So Forrester came out around the time of shop.org in September and stated that Amazon and Google are influencing together 43% of all online purchases. We'll break that out in just a moment. That's roughly $100 billion plus in online commerce. If you believe the statistics that more than half of all offline retail purchases begin with online or mobile research, then the e-commerce numbers don't really speak to the true influence that Amazon and Google combined are having on the overall retail economy. We believe that consumer research begins at one of those two locations and ultimately ends up driving more than $500 billion in offline sales at this point. So combined, we're talking about $600 billion in sales. That's more than 20% of the total U.S. retail economy. And when you look at the average year-over-year growth metrics for these two channels, they're well above 30 to 40% range, in some cases approaching 50% year-over-year. Here's a quick breakdown of the Forrester and NRF numbers that I mentioned. So roughly 30% of online shopping begins with price or availability or product review research on Amazon. Another 13% begins at Google. I actually believe the Google number is understated because oftentimes in the press and on the street, we see that reporters and analysts are focused primarily on Google's paid search programs that are not necessarily accounting for the strength and growth of the shopping program at this point. So it's very likely that this influence in these percentage numbers is understated. The other things, we'll talk about a few surprises that we have seen this holiday. I'll start with one that is not necessarily the focus of this webinar, but is worth calling out. And that is that the influence of mobile and tablet commerce on our overall e-commerce transaction value has grown immensely this year, up to 16% from roughly 6% last year. And what's notable about these percentages is that this is excluding Amazon and eBay, which arguably are at the top of the market or the head of the market when it comes to penetration of the market with their mobile apps and mobile storefronts. So it's a pretty astounding number for us in terms of direct mobile transactions observed through our platform when you take those market leaders out of the equation. I'm going to just touch quickly on a Mercent service that I had mentioned earlier in my introductory comments, and that is the importance of dynamic pricing in the marketplace. We understand that price matching is not a strategy that every retailer is interested in pursuing, but we do understand that price transparency on mobile devices in particular is really changing the way that consumers behave with respect to their online and offline shopping practices. And I just wanted to call out here some stories that you're probably already familiar with in terms of Best Buy's move to reduce their pricing to compete with Amazon in certain cases. You know, we saw Target come out recently and do the same. And then, of course, even PayPal got into the business of offering price matching guarantees in the marketplace. The key here is that when we're looking at dynamic pricing in the context of the digital ad campaign, there's no question that there are diminishing returns on practices like bidding for placement, keyword discovery and keyword management, and creative ad copy optimization. Because it's our perspective that as price and merchandising offer information becomes increasingly transparent with consumers, it's the strength of the offer, including the shipping cost and shipping speed, as well as the reputation of the merchant, that ultimately drives consumer behavior. And so our focus strategically at Mercent, increasingly today and moving forward, is on providing services and technology that allow our customers to get the offer correct, even before they focus on ad optimization. Here's a quick example of the classic Amazon product detail page. I just call this out because it's a reminder that ownership of traffic and transaction value on sites like Amazon and eBay, and we would argue increasingly on Google, is really a winner-take-all proposition. I'm sure most listeners at this point understand that 98% or more of the Amazon intent among consumers goes to the default buyer that has the premier add-to-cart position on this page. And we see this model being extended elsewhere on the web. As I mentioned, of course, eBay now has an authoritative product detail page, and for many categories of products, Google is following suit. So again, the importance of reputation, the importance of price and shipping competitive stature are increasing in our view. Shifting our attention to Google, we really view Google as an e-commerce business and destination. Most of the products that I've listed up here are official Google product names. Some, like same-day delivery, are speculative in terms of industry coverage and so on. But you can see how the profile of Google Shopping business has been expanded. I should clarify that this is all Mercent content and perspective. Doesn't necessarily reflect John's official line from Google on their shopping business and strategy. So we'll talk quickly about Google Shopping holiday results. I have a couple of slides here, and then we're going to come back after John's comments, and we'll hit the entirety of our Mercent e-commerce performance index and report on how channels and e-commerce overall are performing so far this holiday. But I think these are interesting for any of you who are advertising through Google Shopping program. The first point that we wanted to make is that we are seeing phenomenal growth in the pay-to-play PLA-based Google Shopping program. As a reminder, Google deprecated the free Google product search program first starting on June 28th of this year, and then kind of finished the process with the shopping subdomain in October. But we've been really amazed to see that, particularly over the Cyber weekend, starting with Thanksgiving and ending with Cyber Monday, net of the change, so measuring the combined total of the free Google product search program, which was the majority of traffic last year, although PLA was in beta with many of our clients, and product listing ads this year. Over that 5-day Cyber weekend, we saw Google Shopping grow in the aggregate at 60% year over year. So I mentioned earlier that mobile was a breakout surprise for us for the year. The other major success story for our clients so far this year has been product listing ads. We do see the cost of product listing ads increasing in terms of average cost per click, but there's a context here that I want to discuss with you. We have seen average click values run from 40 cents or so starting in September up to a high of 70 cents this holiday. And with the high intent, all-important holiday shopping season, we're not surprised to see some inflation on the costs. The context is that what we're seeing and what we're hearing from our customers is that relative to paid search and other categories of paid retail advertising, including the comparison shopping engines, PLA is delivering a higher conversion rate and also a moderately higher average order value, which, when taken in combination, provides our clients with more than sufficient return on advertising spend to justify the incrementally higher costs per click through the PLA program. Here you can see the relative growth of PLA among our customers against, or I should say PLA and paid search together against paid search alone. And that's the red and blue line respectively. And so that you can see that over time here, particularly since the model shift that Google has implemented over the summer timeframe has really begun to accelerate. And we've seen among our customer base for clients who are participating in both paid search as well as the Google Shopping program, that Google Shopping is contributing roughly a third of, it's taking roughly a third of budget and contributing roughly a third of Google attributable transaction value. So I'm going to pause, and at this point I'm pleased to turn it over to John Venverloh from Google with some additional information about how Google perceives the holiday to be playing out and some data that he'd like to present.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. And thanks for the really interesting report. We've been working with Mercent for a number of years now and are glad to work closely with you, Eric, and your team there. And it's always interesting to see how your base of retailers is doing and succeeding with the tools that you all deliver and the services and wisdom that you pass on. What I wanted to share today is just kind of a quick snapshot of some of the data that we've seen in November and around Black Friday and Cyber Monday, because I get questions all the time about what's hot, what kind of retailers are on shopping, how are retailers succeeding, tell me some stories. And so I wanted to share a few numbers and then get into some more specifics about recent data. So these are three numbers that kind of give you an idea of where Google is in terms of volume. So 100 billion is the number of queries per month that come into Google. Now, of course, not all of those are shopping-oriented queries. We have technology that attempts to guess when a user types something into Google, whether it's commercial in nature, whether we think that he or she is looking to buy something, and when we do think that it's a commercial query, then we show shopping-oriented results. And so 100 billion is the total number of queries that come into Google each month. 1 billion is the number of products that are now available to shoppers in Google Shopping. So 1 billion is indeed a shopping-specific figure, the number of products that are available that retailers are offering in Google Shopping. And then 100,000 is the number of retailers in Google Shopping. So we've seen great adoption through the past 7 or 8 months of change that we've worked closely with Mercent and others on rolling out this new Google Shopping experience. So that's kind of a quick update on the big picture. If we'll go to the next slide, I wanted to share some data specific to queries that are coming into Google. I get this question a lot. What are people searching for? So I pulled the data for Black Friday and for Cyber Monday. And you can see that a lot of consumer electronics are in the top queries. And for whatever reason, espresso machines are popular. I don't know if it's the time of year or what, but this is always fun to see what people are looking for. Tablets and phones high up on people's wish lists this year. If you look at Cyber Monday, you see a couple of examples of Kindles, the Nexus 7, the new iPad mini, the iPad, and then indeed iPhone 5 and Samsung phones also in those lists. So those are the top 15 queries coming in. If we'll go to the next slide, I wanted to share kind of what are the categories of queries that have been spiking over the past month. So this is all of November through Cyber Monday. There we go. And you can see the different categories. I know it's kind of hard to follow all the different colors of lines there, but this is like the top 10 or 11 categories of queries in Google Shopping. And you'll see a huge spike there around toys and games for Black Friday, and another smaller spike on Cyber Monday. And you also see cameras and optics and electronics doing really well on Cyber Monday as well. So this is looking at the top 10 or 11. In order to make it a little easier to see, I split these out for the top 4. If you'll go to the next slide, please, Christine. Looking at apparel and accessories and toys and games. So these are the most volatile categories, meaning the biggest difference between the highs and the lows through November. You can see apparel and accessories getting a lot more interest. Google has been investing a lot in some new features around apparel, specifically. So if you're in that category, it might be interesting to you. We have some functionality that makes it possible to search for things that look similar. So if you find a red dress that you like or some other kind of apparel, you can now search for items that look similar, for example. Toys and games, also a lot of interest. We did release a pretty fun holiday toy guide that I want to bring up because it points to some new technology and a new approach we're taking to products moving forward into 2013. So if you go to google.com/shopping/holiday toys, that's plural, holiday toys, you'll find the holiday toy guide. And this is helpful if you're a parent or an aunt or an uncle and you're looking for toys to buy for someone, a child that you know. But it also shows some really cool technology that Google has been developing to provide 360-degree views in high-resolution imagery of products. And so this holiday toy guide is sort of like a demo of this new technology, which we'll be rolling out to more kinds of products in 2013. In fact, there's already some consumer electronics featuring this technology. The last 2 of the top 4 most volatile categories, you can see how they performed for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So happy to take questions during Q&A. I hope that you found those data useful.
Yeah, John, thanks. It's interesting to see Uggs and North Face and Xbox on your list. It's always kind of amazing to me how these stalwarts of holiday shopping continue to post, really strong numbers year after year. Those particular brands have been coming up at the top of our list in terms of dollar value and unit volume sold for years.
Interesting. Well, hey, that reminds me that I meant to give you a little disclaimer, everyone here on the webinar, about those queries, because we actually had to remove one query from both lists in order to make them proper statistically. We removed, I think it was Bram Stoker Dracula or something like that, because we had a Google Doodle celebrating, I guess it was his, the birthday or anniversary of the publishing of that book, or maybe the author's birthday or something like that. That was clearly not a commercial query, but it was driving lots of outsized amount of traffic because of the Google Doodle.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, John, thanks again. I'm sure we'll get to some listener questions here in a few minutes. So just moving forward under the same theme of observed holiday data, let's move into some of Mercent's year-over-year growth metrics here. Hopefully this slide is fairly easy to read. It's the blue lower line here that represents 2012 in terms of overall growth. And again, I want to caveat that there's a lot of market timing and also channel dynamics at play when we look at the overall year-over-year growth. And also, it's worth noting that given the strength in 2011, that the year-over-year comparables that we're measuring are against a fairly significant comp from last year. But that said, we've been kind of trending in this 10% range. As they say, averages don't necessarily tell the whole story. And we saw huge growth on Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday, with the overall index coming in the 30% range for all channels reported same seller basis through Mercent. Here we get into an analysis of Google Shopping among Mercent's portfolio, and you can see how the transition from the old free Google Product Search program to the new PLA-based Google Shopping program affected the numbers. It was nice for us to see that we never actually got into negative growth territory in spite of the effects of the model change from Google. And it's been even nicer for us to see that over the course of September, October, and November, as retailers have begun to fund this program in earnest in advance of the holiday season, we've really seen this significant run-up. And we are at the point. Yes, go ahead, John.
Quick question: is this showing growth in queries or growth in sales or something else?
Yeah, thanks. So all of these numbers are year-over-year percentage growth in transactions which are attributable last click to a given channel. So these are looking at total dollars in 2012 versus total dollars in 2011 when we combine all transactions attributable to both Google Product Search and PLA together.
Thank you.
And the interesting thing that's not necessarily totally apparent here is that PLA in its entirety has completely replaced the Google Product Search traffic that we were seeing a year ago. It's probably also worth noting that the mix of merchants that are participating here is different than what we saw last year. Obviously, with Google Product Search being a free program a year ago, virtually every single customer in Mercent's portfolio was participating. And this year, while the majority of our customers are participating, we are seeing an interesting dynamic where I've been sort of characterizing it in some of the interviews that I've held, that retailers that were strong coming into the holiday in terms of their balance sheet, in terms of their access to incremental advertising budget, but maybe most important of all, their ability to measure on a granular per SKU, per transaction basis, the incremental return on investment that they see from incremental spend on PLA. It's those retailers that we see capturing market share from the others this holiday. There's just no doubt about it that our clients that are being more aggressive with their PLA spend during this critical portion of the year are growing faster, and we believe taking share from others that are taking more of a wait and see approach to the channel. That becomes even more clear if you jump to the next slide, which is this year's aggregate year-over-year, again, observed dollar value, transaction dollar value through Amazon product ads, which we include in the broader category of the comparison shopping engines. And you can see that while it hasn't been a measured deceleration in terms of year-over-year growth, again, the lower line, which is in that 10 to 20% range, represents this year. The deceleration was much greater in the second half of last year. It's still a much slower growing, much more slower growing program for our portfolio than we have seen in prior years. And frankly, we believe that that's a function of Amazon and eBay and Google and their collective dominance in the market and the fact that consumer behavior is shifting. And so, we're looking at ways that we can maximize the efficiency of these programs. From a total volume standpoint, the comparison shopping engines still represent roughly 25% of Mercent's total business, but we see these other categories growing much more rapidly than the traditional shopping engines today. And on that note, just as a final slide here with our Mercent eCommerce Performance Index metrics, I have to say Amazon's marketplace program, which contributes seasonally between 25 and 30% of our total GMV, is the most consistent contributor to our business for the last 8 quarters. At least we've seen Amazon, and again, these are just the marketplace transactions that we observe through the third-party seller program on Amazon. So we're not measuring Amazon's own retail business, but we've seen Amazon post numbers in the 30 to 40% consistently, quarter after quarter, month after month, year over year. There's one exception to that, and I'll call out the 20%, the 21% year-over-year growth that you can see on this slide from December of last year. And we did some post-holiday, post-mortem conversations with our client base and discovered that some of our largest sellers on the Amazon Marketplace had actually underestimated the volume. And so they were unprepared for the inventory turns that they ended up posting through the Amazon program and ended up running out of inventory prior to the end of December. So that 22% that you're seeing for December of last year was actually artificially deflated by a function of inventory availability among some of our larger Amazon merchants. So just some final wrap-up, and John, I'd be happy to have you weigh in with kind of your thoughts on the holiday and where you see things moving. But just for my part, we see e-commerce growing as fast as ever. If you look back a few years, I think there were predictions that we'd be moving from solid double-digit down into single-digit growth, and seeing sort of a attenuation of this market shift from offline to online. But certainly with the rise of mobile and with the innovation that's happening in the marketplace, that is not the case. We really do see a shifting retail market with all of the pricing transparency that exists on devices and on the web at this point. Retailers need to have a strategy in terms of their price competitiveness, in terms of their product differentiation and service differentiation. And it's probably there's enough to discuss there, and it's controversial enough we could dedicate an entire webinar to the topic. But again, there's no doubt that mobile is a major force. We see it, and our clients see it. And I'm going to make a controversial comment here, which is that Black Friday and Cyber Monday and these, highly promotionally driven days, I think in the long term have the potential to become more obsolete as pricing transparency leads shoppers to be more consistently price sensitive rather than promotionally driven. I think that is a long-term prediction, but certainly Cyber Monday was the largest shopping day we've seen in history, and I think creative merchandising is never going to go away. But dynamic repricing and managing your merchandising on a real-time basis year-round is something that we think is a long-term winning strategy. Final point here is certainly everyone that works in retail is also a consumer at the end of the day, and with all of this competition and transparency in the marketplace, there's no question that consumers win. So, John, any final thoughts before we shift to Q&A?
I think to echo your point, we're seeing great growth. A lot of people were afraid of Google's shift from the free product search, in which you did have product listing ads, to a model that is totally based on product listing ads, because some retailers were afraid that it would become too expensive. And what we're actually seeing is that while some retailers are spending a little bit more, maybe even paying more per click, the conversions, the higher conversion rates that we're driving, the higher amounts of traffic that we're driving through Google Shopping is actually making it more efficient for retailers. We have leveled the playing field, and retailers are pretty excited about it, and we're very optimistic. And the changes that we've made over the last number of months are really the first step in a big set of investment. We talked a little bit about the product imagery and the toy guide and where we're going with that. We also have pretty interesting initiatives to help retailers convert better, even when the traffic is on their own site as opposed to at Google. So Trusted Stores is an example of that, for instance. And we have some new initiatives around mobile that we'll be talking to retailers about in the first part of the new year. So if you are a retailer and you're wondering about mobile and what we're looking at doing, talk to Mercent, and they can facilitate a conversation with us about some of our initiatives there. So thanks again, everyone, for being here, and I guess we can move into Q&A now.
Yeah, that sounds great, John. So I'm going to start with a couple here that I think are just questions that will provide an opportunity for clarification. The first question, I'll answer these, John, and then certainly give you an opportunity to weigh in as well. Is PLA cannibalizing Google product search? Well, so I think I'm going to talk about the fact that Google Product Search is no longer a live program on Google. Is that a fair statement, John?
Yes, that's a fair statement.
Okay, so the only way to participate in product ads in Google Shopping today is through the Product Listing Ads program, which is a pay-to-play program. There's a broader question that I'll just quickly touch on because I get asked this, and I think everybody at Mercent gets asked this on a regular basis, and that is, is PLA a growth opportunity in the context of all digital advertising channels and opportunities, or is this kind of a zero-sum game when you look at AdWords and comparison shopping engines and so on? And I think the answer to that lies in the fact that we are seeing e-commerce grow between 15 and 30% year over year, but the growth is not necessarily coming from the same channels that it has come from historically. And then there's also a question around how our clients are addressing their advertising budgets and how that's going to change in 2013. Just for our part, I would say what we're hearing a lot from our clients is that they are looking for nominal incremental spend in 2011, but they're also taking a very close look at the efficiency of their existing paid programs, including the comparison shopping engines and AdWords, to see where they can potentially reallocate in the short term those advertising dollars. Now, that's a very different picture than what we see for 2013. The thing that we've consistently heard from our customers is that when it comes to their budgets for next year, they will be earmarking independently dollars for both AdWords and more broadly their paid search category and Google Shopping separately. And I mentioned earlier on the presentation that generally we're seeing a little bit higher cost to participate on a cost per click basis in Google Shopping, but our clients consistently are also seeing better conversion rates and better average order value from the program. You have anything to add there, John?
Yeah, I do have something to add. Thanks for asking. The question had to do with, starting early in the question, is this product listing ads program cannibalizing product search? And you addressed that well, and then the question kind of shifted into what about, versus AdWords text ads or other marketing channels. And I would say that I can't speak for other marketing channels, but I think the AdWords text ads question is a good one. And I would say that for many retailers, product listing ads, are an incremental new opportunity because they are so much better at converting traffic that's interested in products than our traditional AdWords text ads. So AdWords text ads are going to remain important for broad queries, brand queries, or head terms as opposed to the long tail terms. So if a shopper is looking for a product listing ads convert about twice as well as AdWords text ads. They have an image of the product, the price of the product, the title, and the retailer name. So they convert a lot better. I think the implication for retailers and where we're seeing more incremental spend coming from is they're able to sell more of their products because they can be more specific with individual products or categories of products. We've seen a lot of retailers who, in the old product search days, only had a small portion of all of their products opted into Google Product Search. And now that they're figuring out how they can bid efficiently with product listing ads, even down to the individual product level, they're adding more and more products into Google Shopping. So where some retailers only had 5% or 10% of all of their products offered, now they have 90% or 100% because they can really efficiently bid on individual products or categories of products. Instead of having a 50-cent cost per click for an AdWords text ad that applies to lots of their products or their entire brand, now they can have an 11-cent bid on their toaster ovens or a 15-cent bid on the Cuisinart one. So you can get a lot more specific and bid carefully based on the margins or the velocity or your other goals, ROAS, what have you, for individual products or categories.
Yeah, thanks, John. There's a kind of related question here from another listener, and that is, I guess this is among Mercent's customers, is there a material incremental impact for our clients on PLA? And absolutely, the answer is yes. Again, just in case anything that I presented here wasn't totally clear during the presentation, with Google product search effectively going away entirely, starting back in June and ending in October, PLA has grown so fast that it has completely backfilled that traffic and posted an additional 60% year-over-year growth on average for our customers on that channel. So PLA is absolutely incremental. In fact, it is the fastest growing channel for our customers at this point, even after you back out the baseline Google product search traffic that we were seeing if you benchmark that against a year ago today. There's one question, John, which gets more to tactics, and again, just to put you on the spot here for a minute, thinking about retailers as they end the season and thinking about tips or best practices to get the most out of key channels. Maybe you've got a thought or two on what you are advising your retail advertisers do as we see the final run-up to what Mercent predicts will be the peak day of the year, December 17th, and then following the peak, post-holiday sales promotions. I know in particular, maybe this is a little bit of a softball, but you guys have your retail promotions capability that you rolled out a few months ago now, or maybe even a few weeks ago. I know Mercent supports that with our platform. Any other thoughts, or do you want to talk a little bit about retail promotions?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I mean, I don't have anything that's earth-shattering or brand new for today to talk about for what retailers should be doing over the next few weeks. We have a pretty, good program that drives a lot of traffic to a lot of retailers, and we've been talking about it a lot over the last few months. And I think that we've been sharing, or the best practices we've been sharing, still hold true. Understand where your margins are, understand what your pricing should be, have good data about your products, and then bid in a way that reflects, how shoppers look at your catalog of products, and and bid according to how your margins are driven. And we've been talking a lot about that over the last few months. Make sure that you're using promotional messages effectively. Those are free, and they help drive traffic, because if a shopper sees that you're offering free shipping right there in your ad, they're a lot more likely to click than if they don't, or if one of your competitors is talking about that. And to your point, retail promotions is a new program that really amplifies the ability to get promotional messaging. I don't know if a retailer who's on this webinar who hasn't already gotten involved in retail promotions will be able to leverage it, in time for December 17th. But if you are working with a Google rep and you want to ask him or her about retail promotions, maybe you can. I think it's a great program. It's still a limited rollout, but it's basically a much more sophisticated way of offering promotions for your products in Google Shopping and across other Google channels like Google Offers. And so stay tuned into the new year if you're not already involved in that. Might be something to look into.
Yep. And again, this is a program that Mercent does facilitate through our platform. Would you say if December 17th is not realistic, January is probably more likely, still a possibility?
Yeah, so retail promotions does require some amount of feed work, which is why we're so happy to have Mercent on board with us for this initiative. And just practically speaking, it would be hard for a retailer who isn't yet set up to get that going in time for your predicted date. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. There is one question here about our repricing technology. I'll just take this quickly, which is, how do you get started? It's a broad question, and I would direct interested listeners to get in touch. We could certainly explain kind of how the program works, but repricing, generally speaking, involves kind of three key components that need to be executed correctly. You need the ability to be able to quickly monitor your competition, and that may be either their branded storefront and the product catalog there, or it may be their presence on third-party channels that are consumer-facing. But we have technology to do that. There is the next step is that you have to accurately match your own catalog against the products that are being sold and promoted by your competitors. And we found that by virtue of the fact that we have a deep integration with our customers' catalogs, it's much easier for us to do that with the feed we already have from our clients than to try to go out and, say, crawl for that information across the public web. Not to mention that the third piece, which is setting sophisticated granular rules as to where and how to reprice products, we believe that in order to do that effectively, it needs to be done intelligently on a brand and category and supplier basis. We allow our clients to set assortments that are defined by their trailing return on ad spend and other performance metrics, as well as real-time inventory and profit margin data. So I'd encourage you to email hello@mercent.com if you have specific questions. And I think we're going to, at this point, there are a few other questions, but in the interest of time, we're going to wrap. I would encourage you, if you're on the call and you have specific questions about holiday growth or promotions opportunities, reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to work with you on a one-on-one basis. I will quickly call out that Mercent and John, I think Google is going to be there as well. We have a presence at the National Retail Federation Big Show in New York the week of January 14th. And I think the show starts on Sunday the 13th, but we're going to be out at the show and available in New York to meet with client prospects and partners at NRF this year. So I'd encourage you to reach out if you'll be attending the show and available to meet with Mercent, our executive team and reps. And John, have you locked down a presence in New York?
I don't know the details of that. I know that some of us will be there. I don't know whether we'll have a booth, but okay. If any of your clients plan to meet with you and you'd like us to join you, let me know. Okay.
Well, on behalf of Mercent, I'd just like to thank again John Venverloh and Google's willingness to participate on our webinar today. This has been very valuable information, and I think it hopefully provides everyone with a read on the holiday season and some growth opportunities that are channel-specific, Google-specific. So, John, thank you again, and to everyone who's participated in the conference today, thank you for your attendance and participation. And again, if you have any specific questions we did not address in the Q&A session, please call or email, and we'd be happy to address those for you. So thanks again on behalf of Mercent, everyone, and happy holidays. We wish you the very best as you wrap up 2012.